Happy President's Day, everyone. The day where we celebrate all the glorious men who defended our nation from literally everything that's not American or is not white or literally anything. Glorious President's Day. Number one, President's Day only celebrates a few presidents, the ones that actually made their way onto Rushmore, and the only ones that actually got memorials, aka Lincoln, Washington, Jefferson, and a bunch of other people. Yes, that does include my favorite president, Teddy Roosevelt, because he was the guy who made all the national parks. So, woo! Now, president is a role that a long time ago, before the president of the United States of America was a thing, Washington, president was a pretty modest term. It basically meant just a leader of something small. But George Washington chose himself to be called Mr. President for a reason. He did not want too much power to go into the president. And that stayed that way. Until somebody came and ruined all of that. But of course, there are good presidents, there are bad presidents. In fact, America right now is nearly defined by President Biden. And of course, we are also currently in a crisis because of presidency. Biden. Now, overall, they're mostly bad presidents, but a lot of good presidents that we think as good presidents have actually a really dark setting to them. For example, Abraham Lincoln. He freed the slaves. He's a darn racist. I don't care if he freed the slaves. He's a racist. That's not gonna change because he's dead and assassinated and dead even more. And of course, there's bad presidents like Taft, who actually, in my opinion, is actually a pretty good one, who did nice things, but not enough for him to be smushed into the plaque of the best president in history. And all of that, president, it's a hard role, okay? You've got, every single day you sit at this desk in the Oval Office, just stamping papers, and whatever you don't like, you go veto, and whatever you like, you just sign it. You call out shots for the U.S. military, you pass laws every single day, and then at midnight, then you can take a break, okay? Sleep for 2 hours, and then when you wake up, you go back to work. It's terrible, okay? There's a reason why. If you take a before photo of, let's say, Obama, and then take an after one, gee whiz, Obama's like, he has gray hair now for some reason. Maybe it's because it's really stressful. The job of president is stressful. It's got power, but remember, power comes great responsibility. Yes, I did watch the movie. You should go watch it. I'm not being promoted by him. I'm talking about presidents. But here we come to another thing. Who are the best presidents of the United States of America? Okay, you go onto YouTube. You're going to see millions of videos about who is the best president of the United States of America. Just to let you know, these are all just opinion. And I'm just going to be saying my opinions too. All of these opinions are opinions. They're not going to be true in your mind. Maybe they are. But there are a few factors that you may not have noticed there that you might learn about, and it's also one of the reasons why I like all of these presidents. So we're going to be starting at a list. Hooray, my first list video, aka my first video that actually will be good. Woo! Number one would be, I already told you, Teddy Roosevelt. Teddy Roosevelt, he's my favorite president. He is powerful and strong. Somebody who the president should be like. Biden, and of course, he has a sense of humor. he's not just powerful. I mean, he practices judo. He has his metaphorical big stick, even though he does technically have a big stick. Even though he's so powerful, he can still be really helpful. Like the teddy bear, he did not shoot this baby bear, and he said, I can't kill the teddy. New toy on the market! And of course, he really liked playing with his children. He seemed like the most childish president ever. Fun fact, he's the youngest president. You might be like, John F. Kennedy is. Well, no. John F. Kennedy was pretty young, but a few weeks older than Roosevelt when Roosevelt became president. And of course, you cannot forget something. Teddy Roosevelt, he was a master at speaking. Biden! Teddy Roosevelt, when you take him and you shoot him in the chest, he's still gonna read for one whole hour. Look it up, that actually happened. Somebody shot him in the chest and he was like, I seem to be bleeding a lot. Better finish my speech. Why is there a bullet hole in the middle of this? And that's just really powerful. You see, Teddy Roosevelt, he is the kind of guy who you want to see to lead. I can't stop mentioning this, but he's got the power, he's got the wisdom, and even after he died in his sleep. One man quoted, death had to take him in his sleep, because if death tried to take him when he was awake, there would have been a fight. And that really represents him. Yes, death tried to take him so many times, but at the end, he only could be able to take him when Teddy Roosevelt wasn't able to fight back. That's amazing. And he gets the #1 spot on my list. Don't forget, he created the national parks, and I love them. Number 2, Franklin Delano Roosevelt. Now, we've already gotten 2 Roosevelts on the list. One of them is Theodore, and the other one is, of course, the Roosevelt of World War II. I love World War II. In fact, some of my earliest videos were about World War II, and you can't watch them because they're terrible and they're gone. So watch this instead. But Franklin Delano Roosevelt was different from all the other presidents. He suffered from disease. Now, of course, Woodrow Wilson also suffered from disease. I hate Woodrow Wilson. He's terrible. Yes, he has a PhD, but at what cost? He's so poor. And Franklin Delano Roosevelt, he suffered from a disease that didn't allow him to walk. And he suffered all the way to his death. And he did a lot of things. It's not just helping America win the Second World War. Not just that. He created a charity called the March of Dimes, which is partly the reason why he's on the dime, that was able to help women, children, and men who are infected with tuberculosis. Because, he didn't like tuberculosis because probably he kind of already had tuberculosis. And he already knew how it felt. And it was terrible. And he got depressed. And then he also died, but he was cemented into history. And he's also related to my favorite president of all time, which is one of the reasons why he's my second favorite. And then number 3 would be Abraham Lincoln, because he freed the slaves. Yeah, and also the first president to be assassinated. Generally we romanticize his death, and I don't romanticize his death. He was just laughing hysterically like he had gotten drunk, and then he got shot. I'm not saying that he was a bad president. He was a really good president. But he was pretty close to a military dictatorship because of the Civil War. And, of course, he didn't just free the slaves. he freed the slaves for one reason, and because he didn't want the outside nations to come join the war against the Union. He did not want that, so he listened to a certain man who got cemented into history too, and he listened to him and turned it into emancipation, which means free the slaves. And then he drafted the Emancipation Proclamation, and he said, all men are created equal and no more slavery. Except as a punishment. And out of all of that, he seems like a pretty good guy. Don't forget, he's racist. Woohoo! Racism. Link in the end of the video. And yeah, that's basically all I like about him. I'm really into the American Civil War. It's a great topic to study. I don't like the deaths though. Ugh, gross. I don't like the deaths. It's just the blood splurting everywhere. And that's basically it. Wade a bit even with racism and anti-slavery. I guess he's a bit even, but he's not that good of a president. I mean, he's like basically an American dictator. And then my last choice of the day would be, of course, let's hear it, Kennedy. And you might be like, what about George Washington? George Washington, he is my 10th. So he's not going to be on my list. I know that George Washington did a lot of good stuff, but look, he still had a lot of bad things to his name that really cemented himself as an okay-ish president, so he's not going to be on my list. But Kennedy, well, he's a different person. He fought against racism, and that's what I think really counts. He also worked with Martin Luther King Jr. Fun fact about Martin Luther King Jr., back in my Bronxville school class, I remember somebody say, he was president. No, Obama was president, not him. But Kennedy, he helped him, and then they both got assassinated, which is terrible. You can now see photos of his car seat with the blood splattered all over it. Don't look it up. Please don't look it up. It's disgusting. You can see brain membranes all over it. And that concludes my list. And 2 of them were assassinated, and 2 of them were directly related to each other. So, I guess 2 and 2. Happy President's Day!